Back to episode number 80. We're almost there, boys. We're 4/5, 80% of the way there to the big triple digits 100. Back as usual, your three co-hosts, Zach Brewitt, Benny Ballgame Dearth, myself, Matt Couture. Boys, how are we doing?
Doing good.
Great. Got the high noon going, so we're rocking and rolling.
Ben's relieving after a long, frustrating day at work.
Relieving? I'm not peeing over here.
After
a bunch of these, I might have to though.
Yeah, you will relieve yourself eventually tonight.
I mean, let's hope so. I might be in the hospital if I don't.
Knowing your age 2 to 3 times throughout the night.
The podcast.
It's a solid.
he's like you're not inaccurate there.
It's once. The second time is because the dog has to get up and go to the bathroom at 2:30 in the morning. But
all right, let's jump into it. The Boston Red Sox. The episode title kind of says it all. Last episode, the episode title was "Where is Roman?" Today, the Roman Empire has arrived in Boston. The big three are finally up here together. We'll see if it is for the long term. But early on, obviously, it's only been 3 games and not terribly overwhelming. But what are your thoughts on the decision to bring up Roman Anthony and what you've seen from him so far?
Long time coming. I mean, obviously, the big leagues is pretty solid difference than AAA. Roman Anthony was basically playing with a boat paddle, playing out in Worcester. I think he just has the one hit. It was an RBI double. Pretty good hit too. Ball was what, 2.5 balls off. I have no idea what Matt is doing right now.
I'm wondering what that is or who that is. Is that Rafi?
Yes, yeah. What?
Dever, nice.
I finally got it. One from the game.
How many old ladies? How many old ladies did you shove out of the way to get in the last spot in line to get that thing?
No, I told you I bought it off eBay.
That's right. The eBay one you bought. You bought in bulk, and then
I got there at 6:15, and they didn't have any. I was pissed, so I bought one off eBay.
Well, if you'd taken your midday nap like us old people, you would have gotten the early bird special. But
guess I need to get there at 5:15.
Prune juice in hand. The RBI double looked pretty good. Ball moving off the plate. Was it a couple of balls off? Good way to get rolling. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come. It's his only hit so far. Granted, it's only been 3 games, so still plenty of time. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's a long time coming. It's kind of a bummer that it took a Willie or Abreu injury for them to finally get him up here. But we'll take it. We've been hammering away and banging the door down, calling for him to be here. I know we talked pre-season that there was a legitimate case to make that he could have made the opening day roster. I understood why they didn't. I just didn't think that we would be, call it 2.5 months later, talking about him being up for 3 games at this point in the season. But he's here, excited to see the things to come, and hopefully it's not that when Abreu comes back that they immediately send him back down. That would be pretty disappointing. So hopefully he's here to stay, and they can figure out a way to make it work with everybody in the lineup, meaning the big 3.
Yeah, I think along the same lines. He looks good. The double was definitely a good sign. Obviously, runners in scoring position, something that the Sox have had a hard time with all year. Pretty abysmal in that category. So for him to get a double, as you said, Ben, off the plate, I think it was a changeup as well. Like just overall good at bat for that one. Had a wicked comebacker. Just kind of bad luck, hit off the pitcher. I think the next at bat, the 110.
Mute yourself, Zach.
Sorry. So I don't know where I left off, but the comebacker from off of Shane Baz, the 111 off the bat, that kind of ended up in a ground ball.
Hit off the guy's ass, basically.
Yeah, basically,
yes.
Exactly. So that was a good sign. Other at bats have been just kind of meh. I think there was a curveball over the plate that he just rolled over, but he'll get there. It feels like kind of just the first series jitters. And the outfield looked good. That sliding catch he made on a low, sinking line drive was a good catch. Good sign. I think he backhanded it too. And then he had one where he kind of was shagging it down, by the warning track there. So overall, looked good. I don't know what they're going to do with Willie Abreu when he comes back, whenever he's healthy. I would look at maybe trading him over some other pieces, but I think their main goal is probably going to be to send somebody down. Christian Campbell, I know, has been talked about a bit just based on his struggles, but overall, Roman Anthony, positive signs, and look forward to him kind of getting his stride here and getting some of those jitters out and keeping it going.
Yeah, I mean, I think to have him up here is nice. Like, that's obviously, we've been clamoring it for a while. He's up here, and now the question is like, who's going to stay? As you mentioned, like, once Abreu is back, there's going to be a logjam. But then even once Bregman's back, it's going to be even more of a logjam. How do you guys see it playing out? Obviously, Bregman's not going to be back for at least a couple more weeks. Abreu's out for about another week. The trade deadline is in about 6-ish, 7 weeks. I could see them throwing someone else on the IL to prolong this a little bit and make it work, type of thing. But throughout the rest of this year and going into next year, there's a logjam of players. Who do you want to see? Let me ask you this: it's the beginning of August. The trade deadline's gone by. Everyone's healthy. How do you see the outfield and then third, short, and second playing out?
I think I don't know if it's a prediction or maybe just what I'm maybe more leaning towards in the outfield is Willie Abreu gets moved to, on whether it's a trade or things would have to be a trade. That would kind of solidify Roman Anthony in right. Maybe you make some adjustments there, put him in left, put Cedon in right, Jarren Duran in center. That can be arranged once if and when we get there. For third, short, and the rest of the infield, Trevor Story feels like he's pretty much cemented himself at that shortstop, for better or worse. That leaves third base is Bregman's, and second base and first. I mean, Toro's been good. There's really been no real complaints there, given what we have available. So if they want to move Abreu for first baseman, there's a conversation to have. But second base, I think if Christian Campbell can continue to, or if he continues to struggle, then that opens the door for moving Cedon down a second, moving Meyer over to second base or whatever. But I think Christian Campbell and Willie Abreu are the two people that I'm really keeping an eye on, because if they continue to struggle and or are just movable pieces, mainly in Abreu's case, then I think that kind of opens the door for a lot more possibilities. Because as you said, Matt, there's definitely a logjam right now.
Yeah, I know we have.
So I think the disappointing reality would be that I think that Duran would be the odd guy out in this case. As much as I don't want that to be the case, that's kind of what I think is the most likely, given that he's healthy. I understand in this scenario you're saying everybody's healthy, but to me, all around, Duran, and there's probably no surprise, Duran's the better player. So I think that if you're dangling somebody out in a trade because you have a logjam on this roster, Duran's the guy that yields you the best return of guys that you're moving, right? Like, you're not moving Bregman, you're not moving Devers. So if you're looking to add prospects, if they're selling at the deadline, he's the guy that yields you the best return. And that enables you to figure out, how you want to play your corner outfielders. I would imagine that Abreu would play right, and you'd probably have Anthony in left in that case. He had that great sliding catch. He didn't look like he was moving super great. I mean, I know he's not exactly what you call a burner. but I think it's Duran, unfortunately. The other part that I'm not sure how it plays out. I would say that second base is either Marcelo Mayer or Christian Campbell, whoever's hitting the ball better. Mayer's a middle infielder. He can obviously play second, or at least he should be able to. Obviously, he's a natural shortstop, and he would, to me, be the shortstop of the future. Trevor Story was kind of left for dead in May. He has completely turned it around. He looks like early season Trevor Story of this year. He looks like a better version of last year's early season Trevor Story.
He made in the hole last night.
Like that was like, yeah, I haven't seen Story make a play like that in maybe in a Red Sox uniform, but definitely in quite a long time. He has not made a play that good.
He has some web gems in the Sox. A lot of them are going up the middle. That have been really nice, but that in the hole, and obviously he bounced it, but it doesn't matter. You're jumping off 1 foot, that's a hell of a throw.
I mean, Derek Jeter made a career off of the jump throw out of short, so not that Trevor Story is Derek Jeter.
Quick side note, but Derek Jeter is the most overrated shortstop in MLB history.
Well, that is correct. That is not something I will fight you on. So the thing about if everyone's healthy, the tricky part is whoever's hitting the best, in my opinion, is gonna play second, whether it's Mayer, whether it's Campbell. Campbell started out hot, cooled off pretty quick. He's been inconsistent, but he's kind of he's not doing enough offensively or defensively for him to be cemented on the roster. Mentally, I look at it and go, what does it do to his psyche for a guy who made the opening day roster, was basically told, hey, you're good enough to be on the team now. You're going to be our second baseman. We'll mix you in other places, and then here we are in mid-June, and is sitting him down and having a conversation of hey, we need you to get yourself right. You're going back down to Worcester. I would, he's a professional, right? He'll figure that out. Don't know how that would affect his psyche, but you got to do something. There's really only one spot available on the infield. But whoever's hitting, I think certainly has it. I think both Campbell and Mayer are certainly, more than capable defensively to play second base. But yeah, to me, it's Duran, and he's going to yield them the best return. I don't love the idea. I would much prefer them, granted, you're not getting much in return for them. I'd much rather them move on from guys like Refsnyder and Yoshida, and move Rafaela to kind of that super utility role where he can, because we know he can play middle infield. We know he can play the outfield. So he can be the guy that can spell multiple guys at different positions when Cora decides to need a day off. We also know that he loves to platoon the young guys. So there's plenty of flexibility there. And that way you put Duran in center. He was a Gold Glove finalist last year in center field. And you can put Roman Anthony in left. That to me is the best in terms of your offensive production, because you still have your spark plug at the top of the lineup. Hopefully you guys have turned it around offensively. And then obviously you're going to get healthier. Bregman coming up soon, who obviously injects really good bat in the middle of the lineup. So, that's what I'd like to see them do. But to me, in all likelihood, if you're going to see anybody traded, I think it's going to be Duran.
Yeah, it'll be tough to see because I think they internally really do like Duran. But I think we've also talked about on here, and I've said it a handful of times, even a couple times over the last 24 hours, is that I don't really buy into Duran as being a guy that you like long term. He's not a guy I really love the idea of extending past. I think it's age 31, 32 that his contract goes. So I think that he's going to be a guy that gets traded. It's just a matter of when. So if you have a logjam, the question is, well, okay, then maybe we just move him now. Anthony is basically a lock long term in that three-man outfield. I guess there's a chance that he's not a lock for the remainder of the season. They could always throw him back down in AAA, but I don't see that as very likely. In the short term, I think it's, like you said, if you're talking about putting the best lineup out there, I think that involves Anthony in left field, Duran in center field, Abreu in right field, and having Rafaela be the guy that can bat against lefties and play right field, right? Occasionally give Duran a day off. Obviously, you can occasionally give Anthony a day off too, because Anthony you're going to platoon too, right? So Ref Snyder can platoon Anthony. Rafael can platoon with Abreu if you really want. You can obviously mix Rafael in at center field. You can mix him in at second as well. And then in the infield, you got Bregman. As long as Story is playing relatively well and not just being hot garbage, I think he's safe at shortstop for the remainder of this year. And like you said, then it leaves Mayer and Campbell. And I think that Mayer at the moment has the inside track to get that position, because he's not only, Campbell's been struggling, but Mayer's a lot more fluent as a defender. So you put Bregman, Story, and Mayer across the infield, that is a really good defensive infield, like a really good defensive infield. And like you said, Duran has struggled a little bit in left, but he historically has been pretty solid in center field. Last year, he had his best season defensively, and he was in center field a lot. So I would like to see that. Like that's the way I would go with it. No disrespect to Rafael, and I went back and forth with a few guys on social media today about it. It's not really a disrespect to him. I think he's a decent young player. He's got a good glove. He's a little errant with his arm, but he's got a really good glove, good speed. He's taken some minor steps as a hitter. He's walking a little bit more. He's K'ing a little bit less, but the chase rate's still there. It's in the 2 percentile in baseball. That's I think the kids say not good. I think it's the best way to describe it. And when you talk about, him as a player, the answer is it's not whether he himself is bad or not, because I think he is a decent young player. It's, do you have better options? And when we talk about players playing up to their potential, playing up to what we know them to currently be, Abreu, Duran are both better players than him, right? And so if you want to argue Rafael and put Anthony, to the bench or in AAA, that's a different story. But I would say as a hitter, if do you guys disagree? Like, as a hitter, do you like Rafael over like Abreu or Duran?
I don't like him as a hitter over Duran. I like him as a glove, and I've said this on multiple podcasts. I think he, to me, is that JBJ type where like you expect him to be pretty bad at the plate. Different reasons for them being bad at the plate, but elite defenders in center field. I think going back to the Abreu thing, I think there's nothing that necessarily he does like that's game changing, so to speak. And that might sound weird because of baseball savant stuff, but like look at the guy like Duran, blazing speed. Obviously, he's your leadoff guy, can turn any single to a double to a triple, etc. Rafael, as I said, has game changing ability in center field. Like, yeah, Abreu's got a good glove, good arm, it's whatever, but he's more like that Trot Nixon type where it's great player. We talked about it before, I think with a different guest. But
that's my question for you, Zach. Like, who are you starting, Trot Nixon or JBJ?
Trot Nixon.
Like the answer has to be Trot Nixon. Like, I have a lot of respect for Rafael, and I think he could be a little bit of a better bat than JBJ. But like I said, it's not whether like he's good or not. It's not whether like he can hit 260 or not. It's, do they have better options? And I just think that they have better options right now. And now Abreu has been struggling a bit prior to his injury. So, if he's not hitting the ball well, then, you sit him until he does, type of thing. And if you have that ability to play a Rafael over him, like, so be it. But like when we talk about living to be what we know they can be, and for what that is, Abreu is when we know he's hitting well, is a 280, really good overall solid hitter that plays good defense. We know Duran, and I posted this and kind of just completely put the guy in his place when he talked about Duran's start of the season. I said, Durant didn't pick up until June last year. He was solid the first 2 months, but June and July and August, he lit it up. Like, lit it up. And what's happening again this year? He's starting to come on a little bit more in June. So, because we were talking about Rafaela has also had a hot start to June. And I was like, the difference is we know what Durant can be. We know what upside of Durant because he showed it already. And it's following the same path that he did last year where he took off in June, July, and August. Rafaela, for as much as he's had a really hot June, we don't know that this is ever going to be him permanently. Like, is this him taking a big step in becoming a more well-rounded player? Possibly, but you can't bet on that right now when we talk about like smart decisions. So, I don't want to keep beating the same drum, but it's like he's just not at this moment the best, or even the second best of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the thing for me is, and I'm just going to kind of go back. You talked about the dynamic of how you figure out the roster. If you went the route of you slide Durant to center, you put Anthony in left, Abreu in right, is if that's the path you take, somebody has to be the odd guy out, right? Which means you're trading Rafaela, or you have to trade some combination of Rafaela, Yoshida, Ref Snyder. Like, you can't have all three of those guys on the bench, because obviously Yoshida can only DH at this point. So you have to make some concessions and move some of those guys. But like, to me, and this is a loose comparison, but think back to JBJ. So JBJ was good. He would have stretches of 4, 5, 6 weeks maybe where people would be like, wow, he's tearing the cover off the ball. And then whether it was early season, mid-season, late season, didn't matter. Any other time other than that 4 to 6 week stretch, he was garbage. Couldn't find his way out of a paper bag if he tried to. And I hope that Rafael is not following down the same path. But that was the issue with JBJ, is you were like, okay, like, defense is elite, Gold Glove caliber guy, and you're going to get 4 to 6 weeks out of him where he's just absolutely killing it. But then the rest of
like 29 game hit streak.
Yeah. And then we're like, oh my God, like, is JBJ like turning the corner as a hitter? And then like and didn't it span, like, he had like 15 to 20 games at the end of one season, and then it carried over to the beginning of the next season, and then people were like,
not sure exactly.
I think it spanned like the end of
one season into the next, and then John Farrell moved him up to like the 4 spot, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. And then, I hope this is the new Rafael. Like, the last 10 games was seen in June, but like you said, like, is it the new him, or is he just seeing the ball a little bit better right now, and then raise or something like that? They 8th inning, down by 1 run, goes up there, swings at a slider away, like way away. First pitch. Second pitch, it's like a fastball in, swings out it right, like way in, swings at it right away, fouls off the next pitch, and then strikes out of the fourth pitch. And it's like, you need to have a level, not only in that moment, right? You're in the 8th inning, like, we need to be smart up at the plate. We're not dicking around. And he just lacks a severe level of discipline that when you do that, and Ben, I know you obviously coach baseball too, so you can vouch for this to the stars. For a play, no matter like how far you can hit a ball, how fast you are, if you lack plate discipline, if you lack smarts at the plate, you are never going to be a consistent player, ever.
No,
you're never going to have consistency in terms of like getting on base and hitting for a good average.
Right. And, it plays into it where, like, the mental aspect of that, right? Like, if you're a pitcher and you've got guys on, and that you have a guy who lacks the discipline to not chase balls out of the zone. Like, obviously you can give a guy a pass if you've got like wipe out off speed stuff, breaking ball, change up, whatever. And it's like, if you can, if you start a ball in the zone and it ends up a couple of balls off the plate one way or the other, and a guy chases, well, that's just a damn good pitch. But with a guy like Rafaela, you don't even have to start it in the zone to get him to chase. Like, he's a guy that would swing at a slider or a changeup that's off the plate by a couple of balls, and it's never in the zone. It's off the plate from the get-go, and it never enters the strike zone. So that's something that's going to cause inconsistencies with his ability to be, and I'm not even saying like a great hitter, right? Like, I know we had touched on him as like, what is his ceiling as a prospect? And we kind of talked about if he really hit his full potential, he kind of felt like as far as an offensive production standpoint, that he kind of, at least to me, felt like a little bit like a Dustin Pedroia, where you'd get mid-teens for home runs. Maybe he would sniff 20, give you a decent amount of stolen bases, really, really good defense. He was never going to be a guy that would be great at the plate. But if he can't rein it in and not have one of the worst chase rates in baseball, he's never going to get there. So there's too many peaks and valleys with him, in my opinion. So, that's why I like him as that utility role where, instead of having David Hamilton on the bench as your middle infielder utility guy, Rafaela
my
can go
least
play.
favorite player on the planet right now.
Like,
it's nothing to do with him. Like, he's probably a really nice dude. Well, like, he should not be on the roster.
No. And maybe he can go. Maybe he can go play for the Pirates, or the Brewers. Like, a team like that could use a guy like David Hamilton. But and again, nothing against David Hamilton, but that's why I like Rafael as a guy who can give Story a day off every once in a while. He can give Campbell or Meyer second base a day off every once in a while. He can give somebody in the outfield a day off every once in a while, and then if
he can still be playing 3 to 4 days a week.
Well, with the way that Cora manages the lineup, he would be playing 3 games a week in some capacity.
Exactly.
So,
like I said, he could platoon with Abreu in right field. Refsnyder could platoon with Roman Anthony in left field. He can occasionally play some center.
I don't even want him to platoon, because at this point, if the guys are gonna develop, and it's funny. So I was listening to Section 10 on my way into work this morning.
Well, I don't like the platooning, but I'm just talking about the reality of what Dallas Cora is doing.
Well, and I think the other part of it too, and this goes back to my other point about if Rafael is being moved out of the everyday lineup, it probably means that somebody like a Refsnyder is not on the roster anymore, because you're not going to carry 2 platoon outfielders on the bench. Like, that's just, teams are not going to do that.
Yeah, but if Refsnyder is a guy that can play utility and play the infield too, they could make that work.
Sure, but in a vacuum, who would you rather have as your infield outfield combo utility guy, Rafael or Refsnyder?
Well, Refsnyder is not the infield.
Well, I understand that.
You would go into the bench with, you need Romy, a catcher, Rafaela, and Refsnyder. Like, that would be your bench.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, you could get rid of Hamilton theoretically, but anyway, my my point is, if he's the guy that can be your super utility guy, then you're putting the offense in the best position to succeed, in my opinion. And the whole platoon thing, if you're going to let these guys develop, I don't love the idea that you have Marcelo Mayer and potentially Roman Anthony not hitting against lefties. If you're trying to develop these players,
I totally agree there.
They have to hit, and I'm not saying every day. Like, if you've got a guy, and I know that they hit him around pretty well the other day, but if you look at his numbers, like Carlos Rodon is having a career year numbers-wise. So, really good lefty, good velo on the fastball, good slider with a tricky arm slot. So, like, if you're going to have a guy like Roman Anthony try to develop, he should be hitting against the Carlos Rodons, the Chris Sales, the Tariq Skubals. Like, he should be hitting against those guys, because if Roman Anthony...
They're going to think the opposite. They're going to think, like, if they're going to play a lefty, they'd rather it be a shittier lefty.
No, I know that, but eventually, if these guys are supposed to be the future cornerstones of the team, how can you be a future cornerstone of the team if you're not hitting against every starting pitcher? Four out of every 5.
Well in AAA.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not like a lefty thing. I know Cora has this weird thing about, like, he platoons rookie players, which I don't understand. It's like, if you're going to platoon the rookie player, especially in this circumstance, right? Like if the Red Sox were fully healthy, I'd be a little bit more in favor of the whole platoon thing because you have so many top level bats and bodies that are healthy. But in this case, like to me, there's really no reason why Marcelo Mayer and Roman Anthony, and I mean, again, Campbell's been struggling lately, so fine if you want to try to get him right, different story. But for Mayer and Anthony at this point, where they're still new to the ball club, they should be playing, 5 out of the 6 games a week they play every week, unless they're hurt.
Well, developmental year, then let the kids play and let them develop. I don't understand. It's like a backwards way of thinking that Cora has. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Trying to protect them, but it worked when it was 2018, 2021 when you had more veterans, but now that we're a young team and, young in terms of maybe under, not as, they see as much game time and not as much young in terms of age. But yeah,
some of those guys are inexperienced and young at the same time.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for inexperienced, not necessarily young.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you're going to let them develop, or that's the point of this year, as well as trying to make a run for the playoffs, then Cora has to let the kids play. And it's just, I don't understand what he's doing. I mean, I know, again, it's his philosophy, but it's got to change it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In terms of like what they're going to do, I really don't know at this point. I think it could go a variety of different directions. I just want to see the decision, whatever decision they make, that it really is just what is best for their chances to win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see, like, dude, like I'm telling you, 2 weeks from now, Bregman's activated and like Anthony goes down while David Hamilton's sitting on this roster. I'm gonna lose my mind.
It's coming.
I'm gonna lose my mind, dude. Like it's just unbelievable. But I think to an extent, I'm not going to be mad as long as it's within the handful of decisions that are the most likely. I don't, and like people, this is where social media can kind of make things that they're not. I don't hate Rafaela. Like, I think he's a decent young player, but like he's just the one that I would personally trade. But if they went and traded a Duran or went and traded Abreu, if they got good value back, like I'm not like, oh my God, you can't trade either of them. If you got good value, sure, like I would consider it. Like,
I mean, because you're going to get the most value with trading Duran, in my opinion, just because he hasn't been hurt this year. But I mean, like, say you do trade him to San Diego, who's been in the market for a left fielder for a while, and you can get guys like Salas, DeVries, and a pitcher. Like, if that's your return for Jarren Duran, it's like, all right, well, that kind of sucks. Jarren Duran's a good player, but you're getting 2 legit prospects and a high-end arm. Like, it's really hard to complain, especially if they're selling. Like, not this, we're kind of on the cusp of the wild card.
Yeah, that would be a big part of it too.
Like, yeah, we're gonna buy and we're gonna sell and see what happens. And I know that did happen with, was it Heimblum's last season? He traded Christian Vasquez for. That was
second to last.
Second to last was so I understand that was like he did both, and Willie Abreu was part of that trade. So like here we are. It's it's really hard to kind of really complain about that trade at this point.
So that was they traded for
it was Emmanuel Valdez and Willie Abreu.
Yes, but then they traded for God, what's his name? The left fielder. He was like a low-end left fielder from the Reds. I'm having a mind blank of what his name.
Tommy Pham.
Yeah, there you go. They traded for Pham. They traded for like one other like middling subpar player.
Yeah, here we go.
So like try to
and like completely messed up.
Hosmer was they tried to middle it, and that was in large part because we don't have to go down this road, but ownership didn't allow them to add to the payroll. So they were, but the problem was he should have sold. Just sold. You know what I mean? Like if you're not going to buy, then just sell. Don't half-ass it in the way that they did. There was a pathway of half-assing half-assing it and middling it that would have worked, but it wasn't that. It wasn't trading your starting catcher who, regardless if he is not that great, and then you're only adding like 2 shit bum veterans to the mix.
Yeah.
Like you got to do better than that. So they should have just sold, but yeah, I mean, again, not to just like hammer the same exact thing. There is not a method where I'm like a path that I'm like, oh my God, you can't, like, that's a terrible decision. It's just like, they need to be smart about it. And when we say that, the answer is what? Anthony Campbell and Mayer are the future. They're not going anywhere.
Correct.
I asked this to my group, my Red Sox chat group. Yeah, but
I was gonna say within reason, but yes.
Yeah, my question was, what if the Phillies come and want Jarren Duran, which has been like kind of rumored a little bit? What would you need from the Phillies if they were also willing to take on Story's contract? And
Well, they have. Well, wait a minute. They have Trey Turner. Why would they take on Trevor Story?
Well, to get Jarren Duran, but they could also put Story at maybe third or second.
Okay. Let's see. I'm bringing up their top prospects as we speak.
So, like, if you said, like, and again, this is like part of the deal where it's like, all right, well, if you want Jarren Duran, like, we want you to take on Story's deal.
Yeah.
Kind of like, it's kind of similar to the David Price Mookie Betts situation where it's like the Dodgers did not really want David Price. The Red Sox just wanted to unload him and get rid of some of his money, and so the Dodgers just took it on. This would be a difficult deal to do mid-season, but just Duran, you're looking at a good return. If you add Story, would you rather just trade Duran, get the best return possible, or do you find the value in like taking a lesser return but dumping that and getting out from underneath the remainder of that salary?
I guess, and this is the politician's answer in me. It would really depend on what's the offer for Duran straight up compared to the offer if we're dumping Trevor. Like, how much less of a return are we taking? I'm sorry, how much less return are we getting from Philly if they're taking Trevor Story and partial contract? I mean, for a guy, depending on what they're adding in, I mean, obviously you got to shoot for the moon. Like if I'm offering up Jarren Duran, I'd probably want to be like, I want Andrew Painter back for Jarren Duran.
Would you do that straight up?
Duran for Painter?
Story in Duran for Painter?
Well, obviously, but there's no way you're getting Andrew Painter if you're offering Jarren Duran and they have to take on Trevor Story in his contract. Like, if I'm the Phillies,
what about half a Story's deal?
The Phillies should fire their GM if they do that. There's no way the Red Sox are dumping Trevor Story with Duran and getting Andrew Painter. You're not getting Andrew Painter if they have to assume Trevor Story. And
I would say what would you want if it's just Duran?
At least Andrew Painter.
Yeah,
probably more, right?
But at the same time, not much more, because the issue is, like, I understand that pitchers are more volatile from a prospect standpoint. Pitching prospects are more volatile than hitting prospects. There's way more of them that don't pan out as prospects than there are hitters. The only other guy, like, I'm looking at their prospects, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. The only other guy on their prospect list that really sticks out as a guy who, like, has recognition is Aiden Miller, who's their shortstop prospect and probably up with the team next year, depending on what happens with Trey Turner or maybe Aiden Miller.
Yeah, Ben, just what we need is another shortstop. You idiot.
So, no. What I'm not saying you have to. I'm not
just fucking with you.
I know. I'm not asking for a short. I'm just saying I don't know anybody else in that system other than Aiden, besides Andrew Painter. Aiden Miller is the only name that really sticks out. I mean, they have Mick Abel, but he's basically been in their system for what feels like 100 years at this point. He was their number 1 overall pick. It feels like forever, like a while ago. But Like that's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of like a Jaron Duran deal.
Yeah, I mean, if they're in win now mode, Dombrowski's always in win now mode. He's, we know how open he is to trading prospects and getting, real names in his system and in his team. So it wouldn't be off the table to even, start with the Story contract and say, hey, give us Painter too. So just
I think I would want more than Painter if that was just the only return. Because like Painter has good upside, but at the end of the day, like Duran is a proven really good young player.
Yeah.
I think there would be a line of like in terms of the contract and stuff. Like I could see like a Story, half of Story's contract. If they could get Story for what is I think like 12 a year. I think he's making like 23 to 25 range, somewhere in that range. So around 12 a year, like that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference for a team. Like at 12 million a year,
Yeah.
Story is a pretty good piece. A really good defender that can hit, even though he's very streaky, can still hit, pretty decent at the plate.
Yeah. So here's the remainder of Trevor Story's contract. So he has an opt-out after this season, which I would imagine he's not going to exercise. So if he does not opt out of his deal, he's only guaranteed 2 years and $50 million. The last year of his contract is a club option.
For what?
25 million.
Okay, that's so 2 years 50. So if the Sox took up half of that, so it's Painter for Duran and Story, and we give $12 million or 12 and a half. I think at that point,
I don't know if you get Painter for that.
I think you should be able to. If we're talking, I think I would want more than Painter for just Duran. So if I'm sitting here saying we'll give you Story, in like it's not like we're taking on a back. They're taking on the player that is still a decent MLB player, and at $12.5 million over 25 million over 2 years, 12.5 AAV, like that's very reasonable for a guy like him. So at that point, Story almost becomes a surplus value, right? Like a Story at 25 a year, it's a negative value right now. Story at 12.5 of a year is very reasonable. If the dude was a free agent at this very moment, based off what he's done this year, he would probably be able to get a team to give him 2 years, 25 million. I would say pretty easily. I would think maybe 2 years, 30. So like a team would give him that. And so I look at that and I'm like, well, all right, like that seems like a really reasonable deal for the team like the Phillies. You get Duran and Story at 2 years, 25 total, and you give up Andrew Painter. I think that's like more than fair on both sides. I think it's a good deal for the Phillies. If anything, I think it's the Red Sox that like they're taking the big risk, right? You get to save some on Story, but you're not getting under his whole contract, and you're giving up Duran. And if Painter doesn't pan out, then you're effed.
Yeah,
you get your ass kicked in the deal.
Yeah, but I mean, there's something to be said about high-end pitching prospects. Again, the volatility of pitching prospects is real. But I mean, Andrew Painter is, let's see, the number 5 prospect in all of baseball. Again, year to year, it will vary, but high-end pitching prospects have a higher hit rate. Maybe it's recency bias, but look at a guy like Paul Skeens. I mean, he was drafted in the spring of 24 and 23, and was immediately a top 5 prospect. And you could argue he's a top 5 pitcher in baseball. Rare example, but
Skeens, yeah. Well, what happened? Who did we give up? We gave up for Chris Sale when Dombrowski traded. It was Moncada,
Kopech,
and couple other.
There was like the 14th ranked prospect in the system and like the 18th, something like that.
Moncada was number one.
Here we go.
Traded for Chris Sale.
Yeah, it was Yohan Moncada, Michael Kopech, Luis Alexander Basabe, and Victor Diaz.
Does it say what Kopech was in our system or overall?
Kopech was like 4 or 5 in the system.
Moncada was our number one. Kopech was, I think, like Matt said, 4 or 5. The other two guys were middle guys, like 15 to 20, kind of in that range.
I think that
Numbers wise, it was basically the same thing, equivalent to roughly the same thing we gave up for Garrett Crochet. Like Kyle Teal was our number 3 prospect. No,
4.
He was number 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we gave up 4.
We gave up 4 and 5. Montgomery and Teal.
Yeah. And then we also gave up a couple of middling guys. But it was, I mean, granted, Moncada was our top prospect, but we essentially gave up the equivalent of the same.
Moncada was the top prospect.
He was the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like,
that being said, Chris Sale held more value than Crochet too.
Correct. At that point, Chris Sale was a bona fide ace.
Right. Does Chris Sale though hold more value, and he might than Jarren Duran and Trevor Story at 12.5?
No, well, and that's a question. So if Andrew Painter, in 2 years, Andrew Painter could be worth a lot more than what he is, but he also could not. Like, that's obviously the risk of the prospect. For the Phillies in this scenario, like I said, you're getting a Story on a deal that's pretty reasonable, and you're getting a Jarren Duran who's under control for another 3 or 4 years. I think it's 4 years after this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's at least 3. It might be 4. I'm not sure exactly. But you're getting him under team control for at least the next 3 years. That's a lot of control in baseball.
So Duran so this is weird. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm on Spotrac. So it says there's a club option for next year, which is odd. He's a free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2029. So you've got 3 years of control left.
Yeah. So, and that, like I said, that's a lot in terms of like trade value. And you're talking about a player, especially if he happened to turn it on over the next few weeks, that was just one of the best players in baseball last year. And the Phillies could use another outfielder. They could plug him into the top of the lineup if they wanted to. And that would be a phenomenal piece to add to try to go win a World Series or 2 over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And when you talk about what it costs to give up and get these guys, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, especially at the deadline. I remember Chapman got traded from the Cubs to the Yankees, and they gave up. Who is that shortstop that got in trouble a couple years ago? No, not Gleyber Torres. I forget who he was, but he was the Yankees top 1 or 2 prospects.
So the Yankees got Gleyber Torres, Billy McKinney, Adam Warren, and Rashad Crawford.
No. The Cubs traded Chapman from the Cubs to the Yankees.
Yeah.
In the Cubs.
For Gleyber Torres, Billy McKinney, Adam Warren, and Rashad Crawford in July of 2016.
That's Torres went to the Yankees.
I understand that.
Someone went to the Cubs. There was a shortstop that went to the Cubs. It might have not been I think it was the Chapman deal.
Then it must not have been the Chapman deal.
No,
Chapman re-signed as a free agent back with the Yankees after he got traded.
2020 Cubs lineup. I forget his name. He got in trouble. He had a domestic violence issue.
Addison Russell?
Yes.
Okay.
I think.
He got in trouble. I don't know who he got traded. I thought he came up with.
Addison Russell.
I thought he came up with everybody else. No,
he was on the Athletics. That's what it was.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say Addison Russell.
What was his trade?
Was an A's prospect.
What was the trade that he got put into?
Addison Russell was traded from the A's to the Cubs. Jason Hamill and Jeff Samardzija.
Yeah, okay. That was my mistake. Yeah. So, I mean, regardless, I remember Chapman went for a really steep price at the deadline, and he was a reliever. He was a good reliever, but he was a reliever that was a free agent after the end of the year, and then Oh no, it was the year the Yankees traded him away, and then they got him back the next
That's
year.
the
I think
Gleyber
it was.
Torres.
Yeah, they traded him for
We're
Gleyber
talking
Torres.
about.
They traded him for Gleyber Torres. And then
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was a free agent at the end of the year, and then he went back to New York after he won the World Series with the Cubs.
You're right. And
then
Torres, I
even
think at the time was like a top prospect, right?
Yeah. But then even last year, Chapman goes from Kansas City to Texas, or 2 years ago from KC to Texas, and goes for Cole Reagans. And now he's their number 2 starter, number 1 starter. Like
Yeah,
to
he's
your point, they do go for a high premium at the deadline. So I wouldn't put it past.
And I mean,
Dombrowski
and so adding story to that type of deal at that point will be difficult to configure. But like even just when we talk about Duran for a guy like Painter, like the price for a player like Duran mid-season should be very high.
Yeah.
Very high. You should be able to get at least one top prospect.
Yeah.
Into the mix. And so they shouldn't be, Andrew Painter should be well within reason. I'm trying to find Gleyber Torres on the Cubs prospect list. Maybe I'm just missing it. Oh, right. Yeah. So 2016, he was the number 1 prospect on the Cubs.
Yep.
And he got traded. He got traded in the deal for
Chapman.
I'm trying to see. Looking at some of the names here is pretty funny. Devers was the 17th. So he's a 28th ranked prospect. So it was him and multiple others for Chapman. And so when you talk about Duran, who should hold notably more value than Chapman did at that point, because not only is he still also a really good player, but he has 3 more years. He has 3 more years of control, Ben.
Elite pitchers cost way more than when it's
an expiring contract for 3 years of control. No way.
Wildly
no way.
High-end pitching will always, forever, in perpetuity, until baseball is no longer
go for more. Yes,
will absolutely yield you more return. I guarantee you, the best closer in baseball on an expiring contract will get you more in a deal than Jarren Duran with 3 years of control 100 times out of 100.
No
I think
way.
you're discrediting Dombrowski's desire for a World Series after he got there in 2022, missed it, and he loves to trade prospects for win now.
If Duran was an expiring contract or had 1 year, maybe I would agree. But
Jarren Duran
of control,
but he's not that good of a hitter compared to a high-end pitcher. I mean, first of all, you're also talking about a closer. A closer on an expiring contract yielded you a number 1 prospect and multiple other prospects. If you're talking about high-end major league pitching and win now, then always 100 times out of 100 will get you a bigger return than Jarren Duran with 3 years of control.
I don't think so. Not with 3 years, man. It's way too much of control. I'm trying to see who the closers that are going to be this year on the market. Oh, that's 2020. I need to put 2026 in.
Closers that'll be available on the market.
Edwin Diaz.
But
he's probably not getting traded. Ryan Presley.
He's not.
I don't know what his. I don't know.
Same.
I don't know what his number is. I mean, okay, Aroldis Chapman right now. A Aroldis Chapman at this point. I know he's older, but it's still 1 year of control. It was 1 year of control. I don't see how Aroldis Chapman goes for more than Jarren Duran.
Well, that's because Aroldis Chapman is 9 years older than he was when he was last traded for the top prospect in baseball.
Expiring contract.
Not when he's 40.
He's not 40.
He's damn
37.
Okay.
Would you have
He's been dominant.
Cole Reagans?
Yeah, but you're talking
Cole Reagans would have been the return for Chapman 2 years ago.
Who?
Cole Reagans when he was traded from KC or from Texas to Kansas City, Chapman deal when the Rangers won the World Series.
Biggest closing pitcher trades. That is wildly misspelled, but I'm hoping that.
So we'll roll this Chapman. So 2023. Yeah, the Royal Cole Reagans and Rony Cabrera, who probably is still in the system because he was 17 at the time.
About his like status or number with the team.
Who, Rony Cabrera?
No, Cole.
Oh.
Cole Reagans. I don't know if I'll ever find that name in my life, but
No.
where
Let me see if I can find.
First round pick, 30th overall.
Oh, I got it right here. So in 2023, Cole Reagans was not a prospect.
Not a prospect. Oh, is he like? Did he pitch in the Rangers for like too long or something?
Oh, whoops. That would be. Oh, wow. Sorry. Hold on. I was looking at the Chiefs. Chiefs. Wow. Wrong sport. I was looking at the Royals prospects, not the Rangers. My mistake. Hold on. Rangers. Cole Reagans was also not a Rangers prospect.
Really? Oh, I guess you're right. He was initially the number 4 prospect according to MLB.com, 2018.
So Cole Reagans.
Yeah, so I think he just moved up.
Yeah, let's see, what was he in 2022? I bet you he was a prospect. I bet you he was on there.
29 on MLB.com.
He was their 29th ranked prospect.
I think he was just ranked 29th overall.
Let's see, Cole Reagans.
Oh, here we go.
Is not listed on the Rangers 2022 top 30 list.
What are you on? This one, August 2022.
I'm on MLB.com, MLB prospect rankings. I went back to 2022 top 30 by team, and he's not on the Rangers top 30 list.
So I'm on MLB.com as well. August 16, 2022. It said biggest jump / fall. Jump is Cole Reagans. Preseason was unranked. By midseason, he was 13th.
Oh, so this is their preseason list. That's why I just went to their preseason list.
Gotcha. So yeah, he was the 13th ranked, I guess, according to in their system. So whatever that was when he was traded in 2023 is different.
Gotcha.
Talk about a diversion, huh?
Yeah, right. Holy tangent. But
okay. So in 2023, he was Texas Rangers number 19 prospect. I'm assuming that's what he was when they traded him.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, like they can move Durant. I think they can move Durant and get a very, very good return if it's just him. A guy that shows that upside with that years of control, that should be, that should be a very hot commodity. And a guy like Andrew Painter, Andrew Painter could end up a stud, but he could not. And that's the whole point of the prospect thing. And when we talk about trading guys at the deadline, is they go for a premium value.
Yeah, so, top guys at the deadline are way more valuable than guys during free agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. During the offseason.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah, I got you.
A guy like Durant should be able to fetch a top 20 prospect. In my opinion, that's a guy that you go and I don't know if there's a player like we just talked about with Andrew Painter with the Phillies, but if there's a guy like him on the Phillies, or I don't know what's another team that's going to be in contention. Do the Dodgers really need more? A guy like Dalton rushing.
It's funny. I gotta die. didn't dive into the article, but I saw something in passing that the Dodgers are looking to add starting pitching at the deadline.
Yeah, because I think there are a bunch of them are hurt, but they're getting Ohtani back in like a month and a half.
Yeah, but I don't know as if they want to risk it, because it's like if they can add a legit high-end starter, then why would you need to rush?
Oh, I'm sure they're going to try to. Yeah, I mean, if you can add, you can add.
Yeah, and
But
they
like even a team like I don't know who's, let's see,
they have prospects up the ass.
KC, like if they need an outfielder and a guy like Jack Caglione, or his name is
Jack.
Jack.
I don't know how to pronounce his last name either. He was
Jack Caglione. He is the next
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani.
I don't know if that would be enough. Like that might be. I don't know too much about him.
I mean, Jack Caglione was a first-round pick last year and had
Yeah,
a
I think they just
meteoric
called him
rise
up.
to the
He was-
system. Like you're not. I don't think you're getting Jack Caglione for Jarren Duran.
They just called him up too. I think he was like compared to.
I mean, you just said you would want at least Painter, and Painter's ranked higher than him.
I mean, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't ask for Jack Caglione, but if I'm the Royals, I'm not trading Jack Caglione for Jarren Duran.
I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, even kind of going down the list, if the Giants wanted him, the Giants are doing well this year, right? I'm not making that up in my mind.
Giants are currently 40-29. They are one game behind the Dodgers in the National League.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not making that up in my mind. That they they got a first baseman, Bryce Eldridge, who's not having a great year. But
quick side thing. So here's your National League West standings, just because it's sitting here in front of me. The Dodgers 41-28. They are currently the third best team in the National League. The Giants 40-29, one game back. Padres 38-29, they are 2 games back. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 34-34, 6.5 back, although their season might be kind of on the downslope because Corbin Burns needs Tommy John. Then you have the historically atrocious Colorado Rockies, who are 13-55.
It's so bad.
And so they are 20.
I mean, you could like
hold on,
none,
ready? Here's the for the left. You know what? I'm gonna have you guys guess. So they're 27.5 games out of the division. How many games back of the wild card do you think they are? Without looking.
Oh God. 25.
They are 25.5 games out of a wild card spot.
Everybody else in that division could not win another game this year, and I think that's still coming last.
I mean, that's mathematically not correct, because if the Colorado Rockies won the rest of their games, they'd be 112-55.
No, I'm saying let the Rockies play their schedule.
Oh, I mean, you're talking about it.
I mean, I guess because they'd have a bunch of matchups straight to them.
Yeah, I got you.
The division, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, but to put it in perspective, the Diamondbacks are 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. They're 4.5 games back of the National League, having 4 out of 5 teams make the playoffs. And then you have the Rockies, who have won 13 games as of June 12th.
Okay, so I just pulled it up. So Phillies, the Cubs, the team.
Matt, what was Zach? What'd you say?
So are they worse off this year than the White Sox were last year?
Oh, let's see. Today's June 12th. Let me go back to. Oh man. Oh, hold on. I gotta do it over here. 2024. So on June 12th, 2024. Yes, the Chicago White Sox on June 12th, 2024 were 17-52.
We're gonna win his back-to-back historically bad.
Ben, what do you know about Cade Horton? Anything?
His name.
Yeah. All right. So he's a starting pitcher for the Cubs. He's 30 innings into his MLB career, but he's a 32nd ranked prospect right now in MLB prospects. If the Cubs are again a team looking like they want to compete, they're the first place in the division. That's a scenario that could line up, right?
It's true.
You know, he's right there like that. That's in the range that could work. Maybe you get a guy like Cade Horton and another guy, another prospect or two to add to the mix. Just looking at their line. Yeah, I mean, you could go a Cade Horton and a Moses Ballesteros, who is a 21-year-old catching prospect, because we know the Sox. He's also just barely made it. Oh, he's 21. That dude is a big dude. Holy crap. He looks like Bartolo Colon.
Oh, geez. Does he look good ever since he wrote the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, literally. I don't even know it's Moises, but the E has the
Moises
accent sign.
Moises. It has the ch over the I.
Like Moises.
Yeah. No, over the E.
Oh, is it a squiggly or a ch? Like, is it a dash or a squiggly?
I think we all know what that looks like.
It's a dash.
Is
it a dash or a ch?
Is a ch over the E? Does it? Yeah.
It's a ch.
That's what's called.
It's a ch over the E.
Is
But no, like a guy like him and Hit Horton or I'm not even gonna pretend to know some of these guys.
No.
A Brandon Birdsell is another pitching prospect.
It's a much easier name to pronounce.
Yeah, and Birdsell, that's a pretty sweet name.
It is.
2022 5th-round pick. But anyways, we can kind of wrap it up all over here. That the Red Sox are going to have a lot of decisions to make. Expect as soon as really like in 2 or 3 weeks. It will be interesting to see how it plays. My guess is they try to prolong the situation at least to the deadline, but possibly even longer, especially if they're in contention. But big picture, they have a logjam here, and we knew it was coming. We saw it coming for like 2 years now, right? I mean, it was always going to be like, what are we going to do when Mayer and them are up here? And then it turned into, oh, well, we got Kyle Teal too, and then now we got Roman Anthony. Oh, now we got Christian Campbell. Hashtag Hein Bloom. But I knew I'd get a smirk out of both of you on that one.
I mean, to be fair, any one of us could have drafted Marcelo Mayer 4th overall.
Yeah.
Oh, we say that. Then why didn't the other teams before him?
Because he was
Don't
hurt.
give me that.
I mean,
he was hurt. He had a shoulder injury.
All right. So then, the Red Sox.
I mean,
He felt him at that point. He's the best available.
Yeah, I'll say that, but then I'll also be like, yeah, you stole Roman Anthony in the 2nd round.
And Christian Campbell.
Hashtag pride of the Yellow Jackets.
And you got an abysmal return for
hashtag Campbell Soup.
we've ever had.
Hashtag the Roman Empire. Hashtag
the Holy Roman Empire.
And you should have traded away.
Hein Bloom.
Hashtag you should have traded away everybody else in 2022, JD Martinez especially, and everybody else. But
they should have. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, they should have dumped JD that year. They probably should have even dumped Bogey the year he left.
Bogey, Chris Sale, there's a list. For every good move he made is a bad move too.
Hey, shh. We don't talk about that here.
I focus on the negatives. You know I do.
We don't talk negatively about Hein Bloom on this podcast. This is a Hein Bloom loving podcast.
Like Uncle Phil.
Nope.
I didn't say we. I just said this podcast.
Save that for another day.
Hein Bloom loving podcast. Anyways, all right. That's going to wrap it up for this week. I was going to do a game with you guys this week, but we kind of went over time rambling about Jarren Duran's trade value. Just like we usually do. But any final words, thoughts? I know we didn't talk about any other Boston sports here. Brown got his knee surgery. He seems like he'll be okay for camp. They're going to probably trade out Holiday, Porzingis. We can get into that probably next week because that's going to start soon. The NBA offseason starts directly after, the championship. And then training camp, we talked about the pink stuff with Diggs last week. Not anything changed. We got about a 5-week dead spot. So what we'll probably do, I think we'll do next week for sure. Maybe one more week after that. We'll see. And then we'll be on our summer break for at least a couple-week hiatus. But then we'll need to get right back into it for the middle of July because that's when the MLB trade deadline is going to be coming up.
Yep.
So any
And
final
Drake
words, thoughts, prayers?
No.
Bruins hired their
Thoughts on
new
the riots
coach.
in LA?
Who is
You went.
RTB late night?
Yeah. RTB After Dark showing up before.
Would
sunset.
you be interested in seeing RTB After Dark, where it is
Here's our new
political show?
No.
Republicans that ball. RTB. The hat will be on backwards for that episode, because that will show that I am the baller. And we'll talk all politics if you want, and you can all bitch and moan, and we can go at it. So, anyways, final words. Go ahead.
Bruins hired the new coach, Marco Sturm. I don't know that he moves the needle, but we'll see what happens in the offseason. Big, as you said, big Celtics offseason coming up. I think basically is how I feel about the Bees. Just awful. Celtics have a big offseason coming up. Exciting, much more exciting than the Bruins. So we'll see what happens.
Rafael Devers popping up. No, I mean, I'd love to see the Sox keep it going. 2 out of 3 against the first place New York Yankees. 2 out of 3 versus the third place Tampa Bay Rays.
Didn't they win the series against the Braves too, or am I missing that?
I don't know. I know that the Yankees and Rays were back to back, so that's why I was feeling kind of good. But hopefully
not because I was
Rafael Devers doesn't even have a mustache. That's terrible. But Matt's on another planet right now. No, that's it.
Oh, Red Sox won the Braves series too.
Okay.
So they're rolling. That was
What are your thoughts?
RTB After Dark.
All right, yeah. No, I forgot about the Sturm news. I mean, we'll see. I'm not gonna make too much judgment. I'm not gonna be a Felger and pretend that I have a comment and just make up a negative take on that.
He's got
we'll
comments.
see how it plays out. But
all right.
Yeah, that will do it for this week. Like I said, we'll be back at least one more week before our summer break. Ben, I hope you have another high noon. Figure it out.
I'm being dragged. I'm being dragged to Mexican food, so I'm going out after this.
Jeez, who's watching the children?
Nothing. It's the wife was like, "Hey, come meet me for Mexican food." I was like, "Okay, yes, I'll be there."
Oh, look at you. Look at you. All right. And then Zach, what's on the agenda over the next week? Anything special?
Wife's away for the weekend, so I have the house to myself.
Where the laptop at?
Oh, we're throwing a rager at the Brewitt residence, boys.
Brewitt residence, come on through. Somerville.
Rager at the Brewitt residence. My wife goes away
tonight.
The second week of July.
Where the laptop at?
Where the laptop at?
All right. We're Raise the Banner.
Later,
Thanks
guys.
for listening. Goodbye, and go
Boston.
Sports.
Go Boston, baby.